His voice followed me long after the bridge vanished beneath our feet. Not a sound exactly, more like a vibration lodged beneath my skin, like a memory I hadn't earned, echoing through bone and breath and shadow. I told myself it was the veil, that this place warped things, bent them, made danger feel like sanctuary. But the truth was crueler. It wasn't the veil that had unmade me. It was him, Eryx. Even now, as I stood alone in the chamber he'd led me to, a room carved of obsidian and breathless stillness, I could feel the imprint of his palm on my cheek, his voice whispering mine like a curse behind my ear. The space was bare. No furniture, no bed, no windows, just a single low-burning brazier casting gold light that barely touched the corners. The shadows were alive here. Or maybe I was simply more aware of them, of everything. My skin was too tight, my thoughts loud, my body restless in a way that had nothing to do with sleep. I didn't know how long I stood there. Minutes, hours. Time lost meaning in the veil. I only knew that when the door finally creaked open, I didn't breathe. He didn't speak when he entered. Didn't ask if I was all right. Didn't pretend he came for anything other than what now hung, charged and waiting, between us. He moved like a storm bottled in flesh, deliberate, restrained, coiled with something feral, and his eyes, gods, his eyes didn't just look at me, they claimed me all over again. I should tell you to leave, I said quietly, arms folded tight across my chest, a shield, a lie. You won't. I hated that he was right. He stopped a few feet away, his scent threading into the air, smoke, cold spice, something old and maddeningly warm beneath it all, like memory. You said this place recognizes me, I whispered, but I don't recognize myself here. That's because you've spent your entire life living a story someone else wrote for you. And now? Now you're writing your own. My breath stuttered. And what part do you play in it? His smile was slow, dangerous, beautiful. Temptation. The word hit low and deep, like he'd slipped it under my skin instead of speaking it aloud. I took a step back, but the room was too small. The air too thick. Him too much. Why me? I asked. Why did you break whatever laws bound you and bring me here? His expression shifted, just slightly, but I saw it. The flicker of something vulnerable, raw. Because you weren't just the key, Nyra. You were the lock. I didn't understand what he meant, but I felt it. The way his voice softened around my name, like he tasted it, like he needed it on his tongue to hold himself steady. Something inside me uncoiled at that. I hated that too. You make it sound like this was always going to happen. It was. But I still have a choice. His gaze darkened. Do you? I didn't answer. Because the truth was, the line between choice and compulsion blurred the longer I stood in his presence. He stepped closer, not touching, not yet, but close enough that the heat of him brushed the front of my body like a promise. Tell me to stop, he said. Tell me to leave, and I will. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, because the ache inside me wasn't fear anymore. It was want, twisted, forbidden, craving something I'd been taught to deny, but that had always lived somewhere under my skin, waiting to be fed. Eryx saw it. Worse, he understood it. And when he reached out, slow, deliberate, and let his knuckles brush the underside of my jaw, I didn't move. I didn't blink. I didn't breathe. Still nothing? He murmured. Do you want me to say no? I whispered. I want you to say what you mean. I don't know what I mean anymore. He leaned closer, and when his lips brushed the shell of my ear, my knees nearly buckled. Then let me help you remember. His breath brushed my throat, not quite a kiss, not yet, but it set fire to every nerve ending I hadn't known could feel like this. You're shaking, he said. I was, not from fear, from the unbearable stillness between what I wanted and what I feared I already was. What are you doing to me? I asked, barely above a whisper. His hand didn't move, still resting lightly against my jaw. But his eyes searched mine, and in that quiet pull between us, something inside me broke open. I'm not doing anything, he said. You came to me. Number you dragged me into your world. I called, and you answered. Because I didn't know what you were. He stepped closer still. Now our bodies almost touched, breath to breath, heat to heat. And what am I, Nyra? My name again, spoken like a secret, like a weapon. I didn't answer. Couldn't. He leaned in, lips brushing just shy of mine, and I felt the question linger in the charged space between us. I knew what he was. He was temptation. He was ruin. He was the echo of every dream I wasn't supposed to have, the shadow beneath the skin I couldn't shed. And I hated that he made me want all of it. You want to understand this bond between us, he said, his voice molten velvet. You want to know why you feel this pull. I did. God's help me, I did. But I didn't know how to ask without unraveling. He saw the war in me. I knew he did. And he answered it the only way he could. He moved his hand from my jaw to the back of my neck, fingers threading into my hair with reverent pressure, grounding me. His mouth lowered, hovering just over mine. But he didn't take. He waited. Let the hunger build. Let me feel the tension between my choices like a blade pressed against both sides of my throat. You can still stop this, he said. All it takes is a single word. My lips parted, but instead of stop, what slipped from me was his name. Eryx. That was all it took. His mouth claimed mine with the heat of 1,000 unsaid truths. It wasn't a soft kiss. It was possession. It was confirmation. And it shattered me. Because the moment his lips met mine, something ancient and wrong and beautiful bloomed inside me. Like the veil itself recognized the act and sealed it in blood and magic and fate. The kiss was slow at first. Tasting, testing. The slide of his mouth over mine, the possessive tilt of his head as his fingers tightened in my hair, anchoring me, like he needed to make sure I didn't vanish. or that he wouldn't if I let go. Then it deepened. Gods, it deepened. His tongue swept into my mouth, coaxing, claiming, every movement deliberate and dominant. I arched toward him without meaning to, my hands catching the front of his tunic for balance, or maybe to tether myself to something solid, something real, because the world was slipping sideways. I felt the wall before I realized he'd walked me back to it, his body never leaving mine, the pressure of him pinning me between stone and want. It should have scared me. It didn't. It wrecked me. He pulled back just enough to speak against my mouth. This is what you were born to feel. I gasped, dizzy and furious and aching. You can't just decide that for me. His mouth silenced me again, this time with a kiss that was all teeth and heat and punishment. And I let him, because I didn't want gentleness. I wanted the truth of him, raw, dangerous, mine. When we finally broke apart, breathless and flushed, I was trembling in every limb. His hand stayed on my waist, grounding me. Why does it feel like something inside me is waking up? I whispered. He leaned in again, pressing his forehead to mine. Because it is. What are we? His eyes opened, burning like twin embers. Marked. The words slid down my spine like prophecy. I don't understand what that means. You will, he said, but not tonight. He straightened, releasing me with an agonizing slowness, like peeling himself away took effort he hadn't meant to show. Rest, he said, his voice rougher now. You'll need it. For what? But he was already moving toward the door. I didn't stop him. I couldn't. Because even as he left me in the dark, my body still thrummed with his heat. My mind still echoed with the feel of his mouth, his hands, his truth. And worst of all, my heart whispered something I wasn't ready to face yet. Not because it was a lie, but because it was already true. I didn't sleep. Not really. I drifted, trapped somewhere between waking and dreaming, the taste of his kiss still burning on my lips, the ghost of his touch imprinted beneath my skin like ink spilled across paper. Even in the silence of my chamber, I felt him. Like the shadows themselves remembered him too. Like the veil, that strange living thing humming through these halls, had decided to weave him into my every breath. I tossed, tangled in sweat-damp sheets, my body aching with a restlessness no sleep could soothe. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him, mouth dark and knowing, voice rough from restraint, that brutal gentleness in the way he'd said my name. Eryx. I hated that it felt like a confession just to think him. I hated more that part of me wanted to whisper his name again, just to feel it vibrate inside me. A sound at the door froze me, a rustle, soft, then silence. No knock, just presence. I rose slowly, bare feet touching the cold stone floor, the chill biting my skin like a warning. I crossed the room and opened the door. No one. But something had been left. A bundle wrapped in silk the color of midnight sat just outside, pulsing faintly with that eerie, silent magic that marked everything in this place. I crouched and picked it up. It was warm, like it had been pressed against a body before being delivered. Inside the fabric was a garment, not one of mine, a dress. It shimmered with strange threads, woven in shifting hues of obsidian and stormlight. Light and shadow bent unnaturally across its surface, making it hard to look at directly. Like the air itself didn't quite know how to frame it. The note tucked beside it was small. No seal, just one word, written in a slanted, elegant hand. Tonight. I didn't need his name to know it was him. Didn't need further instruction to know the game was changing again. And I was being invited deeper, pulled willingly into the abyss he wore like a second skin. By the time night fell, the palace had shifted. I could feel it in my bones, in the way the torches flickered strangely, their flames casting shadows that danced too long, in the way the halls whispered beneath my feet, as if the stone itself watched me pass. They led me, not with a guide, but with instinct, to a corridor I hadn't seen before, one that shouldn't have existed if I trusted my memory of the map etched into the back of my mind. But I didn't, not anymore. I reached a door carved from onyx, ancient, smooth, and impossibly cold. It opened without touch. The room beyond wasn't a throne room. It wasn't anything I'd expected. It was intimate, lit in silver and violet tones from the soft burn of arcane lanterns set into the walls. A chamber designed not for war or politics, but for something else entirely. He stood at the center of it, dressed in black, not armor, not regalia. Just him. Undeniably male, undeniably dominant, and terrifyingly beautiful. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said, his voice low, unreadable. "You summoned me," I replied, lifting my chin. "You always knew I would." A flicker of something, not quite a smile, crossed his face. "And you wore the dress." It felt like a challenge. It was. He stepped closer, and the air shifted. He didn't reach for me, just moved in that deliberate, predatory way that made the space between us feel like a dare. I didn't retreat. I let him come. When he was close enough that I had to tilt my chin up to meet his eyes, he stopped. "Do you know what this is?" he asked. "No." He reached out, trailing a single finger along the line of my collarbone. The contact was light, chaste even, but I felt it everywhere. "The dress is warded," he said, "veil woven. It responds to truth." I frowned. What does that mean? It reveals what you hide from yourself. I swallowed hard. That sounds dangerous. He leaned in, mouth near my ear. It is. And then he stepped back, his expression unreadable once more. "Tonight is not about answers," he said. "It's about knowing how far you're willing to go to find them." A pulse echoed through me. Not fear, not exactly. Something darker, hungrier. "What do you want from me?" I asked. His gaze locked onto mine, unflinching, hungry. "Everything." The word hit like a blow. "And what do I get in return?" I whispered. He closed the last breath of distance between us, his hand rising, not to touch, but to hover. His fingers traced the air just over my lips, down my throat, stopping at the curve of my chest. He didn't touch, and it was the cruelest thing he could have done. You get to decide whether the power inside you will destroy you, he said, or whether you'll own it. And you? His voice dropped to something darker. I am simply the one who will not stop you either way. My body trembled, not from cold, but from the weight of the moment, from the truth in it. He wasn't my savior. He wasn't my destroyer. He was the storm between those choices. And I was already standing in the rain. I lifted my chin again, meeting his gaze with everything I had left unspoken. Then show me, I said. Show me what I've been running from. His smile was slow, wicked, worshipful, and as his hand finally made contact, palm splayed low over my ribs, fingers curling like possession, I knew this wasn't just a night. It was a beginning or a beautiful end. But either way, I was his, and he was mine, even if the veil had to burn to prove it.